Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Power is Now teleconference. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Later, we'll conduct a question-and-answer session, and instructions will follow at that time. If you need operator assistance, please press star then 0 on your touchtone telephone. I'd now like to turn it over to your host of the Power is Now, Mr. Eric Frazier. Sir, you may begin.
Good morning and welcome to the Power is Now teleconference. The phrase "the power is now" suggests that we maximize our potential for success in business and life when we act on information and opportunities now. The present is our future because the future is only a reflection of past decisions to act now. We are at our best and we maximize our success when we act now. That is what the Power is Now is all about, folks, acting on information now. My name is Eric Frazier, host of the Power is Now teleconference, and this is our 74th teleconference. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Time out of your busy schedule out there selling real estate and listing homes. We really appreciate it. I am also the president of the Orange County Association of Real Estate Brokers, a chapter of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. Please go to our website at OCAREB.org, and you can check out the national organization at NAREB.com. Learn about the organization. Come be a part of what's happening here in Orange County and nationwide. I'm also the branch manager of Wells Fargo Home Mortgage, North Orange County markets. Please consider using one of our team members on your next transaction. And you can contact any member of our team on our website at thedoitnowteam.com, thedoitnowteam.com. We call ourselves the Do It Now team because we work with a sense of urgency, and we have the close on time guarantee to back up what we say we'll do. If you are listening outside of Orange County, please go to wellsfargo.com/mortgage to get in contact with a local home mortgage consultant. The Power is Now teleconference is a series of teleconference meetings designed to empower our real estate agent partners to sell more homes, expand their business of buyers and sellers, and to be well informed about changes in lending and government programs that may affect your clients and your business. Please email or call me with any questions you have about the program, and if you would like to be added to our mailing list, just drop me an email at eric.frazier@thepowerisnow.com. Eric.Frazier@thepowerisnow.com. We really appreciate the feedback, your suggested topics, and we want to continue to add value each and every week on the Power is Now teleconference. Next week, Henish Pulico. He's the Director of Operations for Infinite Asset Management. And you can go to their website at www.infiniteassetmanagement.com. Infiniteassetmanagement.com. He's going to be talking about what it takes to be one of the listing agents for this asset management company. And in fact, the whole second half of 2011 is going to be about asset management. We're going to get on our phone all the major asset management companies that are outsourcers for Fannie Mae. And so I'm really looking forward to that series in the second half of 2011. Well, on the call today is Chris Brogan. He consults and speaks professionally with Fortune 100 and 500 companies like PepsiCo, General Motors, Microsoft, and more on the future of business communications, social software technologies. He is a New York Times bestseller, co-author of Trust Agents, and is featured monthly as a columnist at Entrepreneurial Magazine. Chris's blog, and that's chrisbrogan.com, is in the top 5 of the Advertising Age Power 150. He has over 11 years' experience in online community, social media, and related technologies. Chris Brogan is the president of Human Business Works, an online education and community company for small businesses and solo entrepreneurs. His first project there, 501 Mission Place, helps nonprofits and charities learn how to grow capabilities. Chris is also an entrepreneur in residence at Cross Tech Ventures, where he is working to develop new marketing labs and the Pulse Network, among other projects. Chris is also the co-founder of the PodCamp New Media Conference Series, exploring the use of new media community tools to extend and build value. He has 16 years of enterprise telecommunications and wireless experience prior to all of this. Now, if you're wondering why you want to listen or hear what Chris has to say, here's a few things that he has done in the past. He has made, number one, the New York Times and Wall Street Journal's bestsellers list for trust agents. He has written for Entrepreneurial Magazine, Success Magazine, and American Express Open Forum. He won the Mass High Tech All-Star Award for 2008. He has been blogging since 1998 when it was called journaling. Recorded several podcasts, launched a new media network in 2006, a video blogged in several forms, including Small Boxes and Attention Upgrade, built data centers, released software, acquired companies, and all kinds of other fun projects while working for a wireless telecommunications company. He launched a PodCap conference series with Christopher Penn, programmed and hosted a video on Net Conference in 2007, worked on an internet video startup with Jeff Pulver in 2007, and collaborated on tons of social media and social network projects over 2007. Well, that's the background of Chris Brogan. Very, very impressive. Chris, thank you for being on the Power is Now teleconference today.
I'm so happy to be here, Eric. Thanks for having me.
Well, we really appreciate your time. I know you are very busy. In fact, where are you calling from today?
I'm right in downtown Manhattan right now. I'm on the way back from having a conference with the people at the Sybase Corporation, and I am in a hotel downtown called the Roger Smith Hotel, which is a fun little boutique hotel that people should swing by.
Well, Manhattan, I love New York, man. I've done New York in Christmas. In fact, it was my wife and I's 26th anniversary. We spent in Manhattan, and it was snowing, and it was beautiful, man. I think what a place to be.
Wait. This past Christmas, were you here during this?
No, that was about 4 years ago. 4 years ago, yeah.
I was down here for Christmas, and there was the blizzard that came in on the 26th, so we had to get out of town early. Otherwise, we would have been stuck here a week.
Yeah, we were lucky. It was, in fact, I think there's a record. It was one of the warmest times in that year. So there was snow, but it wasn't bad at all. Well, Chris, you have you're speaking professionally. You're consulting with some big names: Pepsi-Cola, General Motors, Microsoft. How did this all come about? Working for a telecommunications company, and then now, sitting at the table with decision makers for some major companies about their marketing and social media.
It's strange, Eric, and I have to say that I'm forever grateful that things turned out the way they did, and some of it's just sheer luck and happenstance. But I guess the way it all worked was, when I was in telecom and I was doing other work, I was also using things like social media just for my own passions. I was interested in books, I was interested in movies or whatever, I was writing a lot. And I was using these tools, these online tools, to connect with people who weren't necessarily in my physical locale, but who liked the things I like. I grew up in Maine, and the people around me wanted to talk about sports and cars, and I wanted to talk about science fiction and superheroes back when I was a kid. And so from a long time ago, I just always had that feeling of, wow, I really wish I could spend time with people of like-mindedness that, maybe liked the kinds of things I was into. And professionally, this sort of juxtaposed around 2006 because I was working at this wireless telecom, and I started an event with my friend Chris Penn called PodCamp that you mentioned a little earlier, and that was just about trying to understand if there's business value in blogging, in video blogs and things like that. And we thought, well, let's just get some people together and figure it out. Well, once this all started happening, I went from being a guy working at a telecom to being offered a job running a conference because somebody in my audience saw what I saw and really kind of wanted me to run something bigger. And so from that into the consulting, it was just a matter of I'd been around for so long. I'd been blogging since 1998, and when all these big companies started looking at what they wanted to do, they could sense that I both had enterprise experience. I could talk how big companies talk, but also that I understood this new wave of communication and media that was coming out. So I guess what they were looking at and what they wanted from me was first, some training wheels. How do I get people out into this new web world in a way that doesn't make them feel bad, that's compatible with their business strategies, and then from there, how do I help them, find real revenue out of this? Because at the end of the day, it's wonderful if people are interested in Facebook, but it's a lot more wonderful if they're interested in growing their business and making some business happen.
So, Chris, are big business concerned about the same thing that small businesses are when it comes to social media? I mean, when you sit down with Microsoft or General Motors, are their needs the same as, Eric Fraser Real Estate?
It's a really good question. I mean, more so than you even would thought of. I think it's that what I try to teach people, and what happened when we wrote the book, Trust Agents, Julian Smith and I, is we thought there's a real opportunity for companies to be human at a distance. So a company like Microsoft or a company like Comcast Interactive, we were talking about how do you put a human face out there? How do you answer people when they're talking to you? How do you make the conversation two-way? And there's nothing more oversaid in the social media world than the phrase, it's all about the conversation. It's like you could go to bingo anytime anyone wants to talk about how great these things are. It's a conversation. Well, we get that from the fact that when you and I grew up, advertising just talked at us. And, either we were the buyer or we weren't. But
Right.
There's a lot more opportunity for us to walk away from the table. Well, the whole difference is, and what you well know as being a real estate professional, is that sometimes it's a real circuitous route between the first handshake and when somebody's going to need your service. And that's what this set of tools really helps with the most. So in a way, what I teach marketers is how to work the sort of wide end of the sales funnel. And when I just want to stop for 1 second. When I teach marketers, every human being in my mind is in the marketing and sales business, whether or not that's what their business card reads.
Right. Well, that's a great point. So as president of Human Business Works, in fact, I love the name Human Business Works. Your focus is on education and consulting, and you're the president of the company. Tell us more about what you're doing and some of your other collaborations. We had spoken earlier about your meetings with MC Hammer, which I was really shocked to hear the other day and listening to a recorded show of Oprah, because, it's in the middle of the day, right? Wouldn't want my audience to think that I'm at home watching Oprah. But I was blown away by MC Hammer and what he's doing today.
He's quite the businessman. I had the first time I had a chance to meet him was at TechCrunch 40, which I think was either in the end of 2007 or in the beginning of 2008. And frankly, he caused a bit of a stir because everyone was just sort of looking over at him saying, what's MC Hammer doing at this event? And the thing was, some people were there to kind of make a joke or something. Maybe they didn't respect him and they were just sort of making jokes about his music from way back when. And I came over and I said, I promise you I have nothing mean or stupid to say to you, but what are you doing here? And he said, people don't know that I've had this involvement with Apple Corporation to do the QuickTime codec, and I'm working on a social network right now. And ever since then, I've run into him 2 or 3 times at some other events, and, we talk a little bit on places like Twitter. He's a really hardworking guy, and he is very much a guy who's working on, I guess, sort of just growing his opportunities through these tools. I have, through use of social media, had the opportunity to meet a wide variety of people. So guys like MC Hammer. A couple of weeks ago, I stood in front of and spent time with Bob Iger, the chairman of Disney Corporation. This is impossible to think about years ago. There's just no way that anyone would have had a reason to put me side by side with a guy like the head of Disney. And the reason they did was because Disney's using a lot of social media. They have over 100 million fans on their various Facebook presences.
100 million.
100 million. I actually asked him to correct himself because I thought he said the number wrong. And he didn't. And then you think about it, right? Disney is either a love-hate thing. You either are so down with the mouse or it's just not your thing. But you can't fault them for, making hard work. They're working what they're doing. And I guess the excitement with him, Eric, was just that, that all these big people recognize it. Now, it's not like I think Bob Iger sits around and tweets his lunch or, plays Farmville on Facebook, but I'm pretty darn sure that he appreciates what it's doing for him. And even Oprah came around to it a little bit, although she's not exactly tweeting herself, but
right.
She knows it's out there and she knows it's important.
Well, it is important, especially in the real estate business, perhaps more so important now than it's ever been, that real estate professionals get on the bandwagon and not believe that just having a website is enough. It's got to be. There's a whole lot more to this. Let's talk about our subject here. The frontier is now how to make work and build business. What do you mean when you say the frontier is now?
So in my mind, there's a lot of business opportunities around us, but we're not seeing it because we're still thinking from our 1980s and our 1990s minds. We're not seeing that. It's like, as you just said, it's not okay just to have a website. You really need an expanded presence these days. You need possibly a blog, or you need to start doing some video. You need to be in the places where the people are. There's over 600 million users inside of Facebook, and if you're not even thinking about how to make some kind of relationship happen in there, you're skipping where a lot of people are spending their day. And it's not just kids. I mean, that's the other thing people tell me all the time. Well, yeah, Facebook's great if you're a college kid. There's over 700,000 new people join every day, most of them in the ages 31 to 60, most of them female. Now, that's all great demographics for a lot of people. The only thing is that their gateway drug of choice is photos of grandkids. So unless you're selling a house that looks like a grandkid, you've got to do a little bit of work to get in there and connect with these people.
Right.
But to me, when I say the frontier is now and the frontier is around us, what I'm saying is that, it's not okay to sit at a cubicle somewhere at a desk or to show up at the Rotary Club and think that's all you're doing. I mean, you need a web presence. You need something that's going to get people in. You need something that's going to lure people who are Googling you from across the world to find you. And I promise you, they're not just looking for, Caldwell Banker. They're not just looking for, whatever their agent broker company that they know off the top of their head is. They're looking for, where's a great place to live in northern Florida? And they're asking on places like Twitter, they're asking Google, they're asking on Facebook, and also on their own blogs. So in the relo business for residential real estate, that's important. In commercial real estate, the first place we go to look for that kind of stuff is Google. And if you have just a real simple basic web presence with your amazing headshot that someone took of you years ago, you're just not necessarily going to be the first person to connect up on that.
Well, I want to dive deeper into what real estate agents can do to improve their site. But let's talk about making work and building business. How are people doing that in this new frontier, the opportunities that exist in the frontier?
So, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities, and not all of these are going to relate to your real estate professionals, but maybe they can extrapolate a little bit from what I'm talking about and decide, I kind of get where he's going with that. First off, once you start building a web presence and once you have some kind of a way that people can understand and connect with you, there's so many easier ways to do transactions now, financial transactions to make something happen. So, for example, there's things like Amazon Payments or PayPal to transfer money over the web. So you don't have to take credit cards per se. You can use something like Amazon Payments or PayPal, and they'll process the credit card payment for you, or they'll just take a bank transaction. And so moving money around is faster. Moving smaller amounts of money around is faster, so that you can even do a small service for somebody and get something out of it. So things that I've seen people do for making work, for example, are be virtual assistants. I was just talking to a young lady, Leslie Joy, who is a virtual assistant, and she charges around $35 an hour to do things like market research or do things like email list gathering and do things that would help somebody like a realtor with their service. And you and I were talking a little bit earlier about the idea of once you figure out that you need that service and once you spend some money on a service like that, a rather enterprising person could think, well, if I need this service other people do, could I have this person who I'm paying actually write a system that explains what they're doing, and could I hire that person to manage a team of these people, and then could I put up a little virtual shingle and start offering something like virtual service? So I think there's just so many opportunities to do business, not with your neighbor, but with people all over the web. And then even so, should local business be important to you, there's other ways to advertise besides your local newspaper and or that little cork board at the grocery store.
Wow. That is definitely innovation and leveraging what is out there already. The idea of virtual assistants, I've heard about that. There are organizations, internet organizations that provide just hundreds of people all over the world that will provide assistance in just about anything from building a website to building a list.
Absolutely. And I mean, if you think about it, there's a lot of things that real estate agents and realtors and related people in the business need all the time. And certainly there's no one out there saying, don't worry, I've got enough, leads right now. I don't need any more. I'm all good. So I think given that that's not really true,
right.
I'm going to say that there's, right there and then there's a reason why you might want to pick up a project from some of these kind of folks.
Sure. So how has the web and social media changed how people buy real estate? And is the brick and mortar concept old school for real estate brokers? Should they start looking at expanding, their virtual presence in their market or even in the world, doing business internationally?
Well, I mean, it's a beautiful question, and obviously when you start thinking about doing international, you have to think about licensing and some of the other tricks that go with that. So, I mean, don't let me make it sound like it's super easy. But on the other side, I would say that what should be on top of mind is that if you have a piece of real estate, then you have, a few hundred square feet somewhere wherein which there's a door that opens and closes a certain few hours a day, and you have a whole bunch of things you have to pay for, including your rent and your heat and your phone and all that sort of stuff that's overhead before you even make a sale when you're doing the old brick and mortar style. Should you do it? Well, sure. I mean, it's always kind of peace of mind for a buyer to come to do the paperwork at your office. But, is that even the vital thing anymore? Maybe the vital thing is that you can actually go to their office and do it for them. I mean, if we've got things like mobile oil change and mobile car washing, why wouldn't mobile real estate help be an important part of the business? So I think
that's a great idea.
If you think about it, right?
Right.
So I think that to go online is really important, and it's not you don't have to go in a really huge way. You definitely don't have to spend tens of thousands of dollars. I mean, you can go really, really cheap. You can just kind of cobble something together yourself, though it'll kind of look that way. Or you can spend just $1,000 or $2 and have a pretty nice presence that'll have a lot of the most modern features built in, where you won't be tied to some web person to change it for you all the time. Once it's all set up for you, they'll walk you through how to do it all, and then you pretty much have a system going from there on. I mean, that's one of the things Human Business Works built was a fairly simple, what we're calling home base maker, to help people make sites so that they can focus on their sales. But we're a little different than old-fashioned web designers insofar as we wanted to make something where the people have the power. The people could, click the edit button and you can change all the words you want right here, and it's not all that tricky. Because one of the things I was running into with people is that they'd spend $5,000, $7,000, $10,000 on a site, and then they'd say, "Oh, we don't really like that tagline anymore. We're going to change it." And they'd ask this designer, and they'd say, "Great, that's another $400 or $500." Well, if it's as easy as clicking an edit button, you could just do it. Then you're saving yourself tons of money, and you're using software that's a lot more generally available. Well, then you just focus on the part you want to do, which is selling homes and making people's lives better.
Well, I think you make a great point. Real estate has changed. We're not doing. I say many offices are not doing the volume they were, in 2011 or even 2010 that they were doing in 2008 or 2007, during the boom. And so there's been a significant reduction in revenue. But, unfortunately, expenses don't go down. And if you're stuck on a lease and what have you just can't wait till you get over it. But, there's a fear of not having a space for a real estate agent to work as a broker owner. There's a fear that if they don't have a place where they can make coffee, not make coffee, many of them do that, but make copies and meet with their clients, then it's not professional enough. What do you say to brokers who are kind of afraid to make that adjustment and to completely embrace, a virtual presence and require agents to embrace it themselves at their home?
Yeah, I think it is a tricky perception shift, and there is that sense of, maybe you're not doing it real or you're not being a grown-up or something if you do it. And, I just recently put myself back in an office after working out of coffee shops for a while. I run 3 different companies, and I've been able to do it out of coffee shop for the most part. And the only reason I finally started changing was that when people wanted to come and meet with me or newspapers wanted to interview me, it was awkward to have people taking photos at a coffee shop. So I broke down and spent a couple $100 a month to find myself a place. But One, like you said, sales have been tight, so a lot of people have been shoved back into their home whether or not they wanted to, or sales are tight and the margins are so low that it just doesn't make any sense to have yourself, some fancy office. But two, again, I mean, I guess this is the marketer in me, but you can turn that around to a benefit. A reasonably clean car and a bunch of technology that allows you to do that kind of stuff everywhere. Copies, you can have a home copy machine now for a couple $100 that's also a fax and everything else.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, do you blow $7,000 a year when you look at all the different costs for an office, or do you blow $400 or $500 a year and get yourself a tax write-off and then spend all your time making money instead of worrying about where you do your copy making?
Right. Plus, there are opportunities. There's a company, I believe it's called Regus.com, and this is a commercial office center. They provide space for people to rent virtually and to meet with clients in a conference room, and it's very, very inexpensive. And I know a lot of people are looking into that option as well, because sometimes clients do want to meet them at a location, and maybe they don't have the home or the space in their home to accommodate a meeting at their home as an agent.
Mm-hmm. I've taken some meetings at the Regus places, and every single one of them is lovely, and I'm sure there's other companies that do it, but I know the Regus name as well, so I certainly could recommend that. And they have a really neat process in which you could pick a couple of cities, so you can even have presence established to make yourself look like you have a, San Francisco, New York, and Dallas office if you want. That's certainly one way to do it. The other way to do it, if depending where you are, if you're in a bigger city, like I'm sitting here in Manhattan right now, lots of people take meetings in the hotels. They'll just go to a bigger hotel cafe, and then it's all pretty and nice and whatever, and you don't feel weird. I understand the part about not necessarily wanting to be into people's homes. If your home isn't set up for that, or if you've got a bunch of kids running around, it wouldn't work in my house. My kids are too young, and we would have a conversation about Nintendo or something while we were trying to sign papers. So,
right.
It's not for everybody. But you're really smart to bring up the Regus thing, Eric, because I think that those things are very beautiful, and a lot of people get a lot of value out of being there.
Well, it's amazing too that you go on the internet and you go to a website and you see a really impressive website. I mean, with all the bells and whistles, and there's a very good chance that this company is someone working out of his home. But there's a feel and a presence like this company is huge and all over the world. He could be one of those guys that has Regus offices, with offices in New York, Tokyo, Dallas, and California.
Totally so. And I get that question a lot, to be honest. Let's pause for a second, because I get that question a lot. That sort of, should I make myself look really big for my britches? Mm-hmm. And I had a friend who did that. A friend of mine bought like the 2 or 3 office deal, and what she got was, she actually got like physical mailing addresses in all those places.
Right.
And I thought, well, so wait, so you're, one, you got to collect all your mail from all over the U.S. 2, you got to fly to those places if you want to meet somebody. So you better hope your deal is worth at least more than $2,000.
Right.
And then, it just struck me as more work. The other thing is these big websites that have shiny office park buildings in them and stuff like that. That you took a photo when you drove by, and that have a lot of the word "we" on it. Mm-hmm. Frankly, there's a couple ways you can go. You could be part of a big franchise. I mean, you're associated and affiliated with Wells Fargo, and that's a name people know, and they have an impacted feeling when they hear it. Mm-hmm. Or you can just be a personality person and just sell. And it's going to be all about people's opinions of you, your trust, and everything that they make. And I think it's a harder sell, but I think it's a bigger sell in the end.
Well, what are some of the top 5 things, and 5 or more or less, if you like, real estate companies should do with their websites and their social media?
So first off, I think that if a real estate company has a website, I can already tell you without visiting your site, not you, but the listeners in this audience, that the site is going to have the same thing. It's going to have a bunch of smiling people The smiling people are shaking hands. It's usually kind of a rainbow. So you have the black woman agent talking to the Asian guy with the Latino guy in the background nodding. Because we're doing that. We have to make sure that everyone knows that we're diverse. And
right.
Diverse, evidently, in web design means clip art.
Right.
And smiles. And so that's one problem. Two is you have sort of a call my main number, or maybe at the best, here's my email address. But you might want to do some other stuff to try to get them to connect with you. You should maybe possibly put together your social presence. And if you have a Facebook fan page, there's a value in having a Facebook page because 600 million people are using that platform. And like I said earlier, a lot of them are in your demographic. So, have a presence there. Have what I call an outpost.
Right.
You might consider writing a blog. And in the blog, because everyone immediately panics and says, well, what do you want me to talk about? You can talk about the places that you sell. You can talk about the location around. You can talk about goings-on in that city. I've seen some amazing examples in residential in which people will talk about the events going on, and they'll talk about the street party that they just had in that neighborhood. And, you really get the feel of what it's going to be like when you move in. And, of course, anything that helps a buyer see themselves in their home is going to help you. The other thing I'd want people to do, and this one's a little trickier, and it does actually take having to ask a web designer for some help, but consider making a mobile version of your site. Not necessarily a mobile app, but remember that for all the work you put into your amazing website, a good lot of people are going to be driving around in their car, pausing at a stop sign somewhere, and pulling out their mobile device to try to look up some information on your site.
Right.
And if it's super tiny and you've got to scroll all over the place to find everything, it's not useful. And this gets nerdy for a second, but let me promise that if you ask the right people, they'll get what I mean. Your web browser on your mobile phone tells your website, hey, I'm calling from a mobile phone, anything I should know. And this is the part I'm talking about. So a web designer can say, oh, serve this page instead, and this page is going to be super small, not a lot of graphics, a little bit of text, and it'll give the most important things you think that buyer's going to need, and that's the trick.
Wow. Well, those are some great suggestions. Let's dive into our bullets on the flyer. And for those of you who are receiving the flyer, just follow along. This call is being recorded, so you don't have to worry about taking notes. You'll be able to check it out at facebook.com/powerisnow. So how does the web see your business, and how can you fix that? And you've been sharing some things already about that.
Yeah, so one of the things that the web does that you might not be thinking about is it's looking at all the text on your page. And if you've written from the perspective of your business versus what somebody's searching for, then you might have really done a bad number to yourself because you've told Google, the number one search engine, nothing that any buyer would have put in. So first off, you might really consider what kinds of phrases and terms you're using on your primary web page. Because, for example, if you're looking for, quality mortgages or something like that, then if it doesn't say quality mortgages somewhere on your site, you just really haven't helped anyone find you. And so that's one. Another thing that, with regards to people searching, is that for some reason in the early 2000s, every web designer wanted to sell people Flash. And Flash is, the stuff that makes your site wiggle and, move around and look shiny and sparkle and things like that.
Right.
And Google can't see anything inside of Flash. It's invisible. And so you're not helping anybody. You might start exploring video, by the way. This is another thing that's going to help you out. And the reason is YouTube is the number 2 search engine in the world. And people don't think of YouTube as a search engine. They think of it as a place to watch skateboarding dogs. But there's tons of house walkthroughs. There's tons of things that people might want to know. And how would you label those things? Of course, you'd label them the way that someone else might be searching for them. So you might put finest homes in Tuscaloosa, and so that people start looking for things about that. You might be a commercial person. You might want to show walkthroughs of your really new, awesome building that you're building for an office park. Or you might talk and do interviews with people in the mortgage space who are talking about things they needed to prepare to do their mortgage. I mean, there's things that people are searching on that you can help. And I think that thinking about YouTube is another way to help. One last one. You want to help people a little bit more by changing the way you're doing your email marketing. If you're just bashing them over the head with sales requests and sales opportunities, instead of giving them information that's useful to them in and around the main product you're selling, you're missing a great opportunity. Similar to what I said about your mobile phone and what your website looks like, you want to make your email marketing a lot more plain text than you would imagine, because most people are having trouble viewing it, and it's just all that great design work is going to waste. So a lot of people have a lot of flashy, great-looking HTML that comes onto the phone looking like a bunch of garbage, especially if you have a BlackBerry.
Right.
And so, I don't know, I guess I'd rather a really happy would-be buyer than I would somebody thinking I have an awesome-looking banner on my site.
Mm-hmm. Now, going back to how you're emailing, a lot of real estate agents use newsletters, and you can tell that the newsletters are professionally designed, and there may be a small segment in there from the realtor in which they wrote something, but most of it is a professional article about gardening or something of that nature. What's your opinion on that? Should realtors perhaps look at other means of communicating that represents who they really are, as opposed to being, using a canned newsletter?
Eric, that's a really great question, and I think there's actually kind of two ways to look at it. And one is that most real estate professionals aren't necessarily great content creators on their own right. They're not in the content business. They're saying, look, I'm told I have to have a newsletter, and I know I've got to do something to keep it warm in between pushing people to buy things. So I've got to go find ideas somewhere. And it's not bad to have that perspective. Having a curator's perspective isn't bad. But the real thing that people are going to want, and the real value that you're going to add, is if you add something to each of these kinds of pieces. So maybe you find 5 neat garden pieces in the city. What you might start doing is adding a paragraph or so around them to explain why it's of value to you and what the person could think about and all that. People want serving suggestions more than they want recipe items. And they want a feeling that they participated in the newsletter, and at the same time they want to not have to participate too much. So there's a kind of analogy about this in cake mixing. It used to be that cake mix was 4 or 5 ingredients, and then somebody came up with the idea that you could make it with just adding water. And the minute they made it that all you had to do was add water, sales went down dramatically. When they turned it back to adding a couple of eggs and a little bit of water,
right,
it went back up again because people felt like they were making something. No lie.
Wow. Now, the other challenge for agents is that it's the perfectionism that they have about either what they write or what they might produce as a video. Are there any statistics out there or evidence that would show that a homemade video, you sitting, the backdrop is a landscape picture in your living room, and you're talking about something with real estate, and the lighting may not be that great, but it's enough to see you, and you're somewhat casual and animated, as opposed to something done very professional, high end, with utilizing all the graphic tools with video software?
Yeah, I mean, you've hit on something really important. I mean, for about $100, you can buy a flip camera from Flip Video, and it's just fine. And they're simple to work with. There's nothing to it. It's all definitely really kind of point and click kind of stuff nowadays. And I mean, people prefer. I mean, one of the number one pieces of advice I can give about making video is make the audio good. The number one thing everyone does wrong is they stand 6 to 10 feet away from the person that they're trying to interview, or they're very far away from the microphone when they're doing a walkthrough video, for example. Better audio actually covers a whole multitude of sins in bad video. Now that said, the other things to think about are that people want your ideas more than they want amazing production.
Okay.
If you've got amazing production, but there's nothing being said, then that's all sizzle and no steak.
Right. I like that. So, operator, it's about 11:11, and let's give our audience some instructions to ask Chris some questions, and then we're going to take another, maybe hit one more bullet, Chris, and then open the lines.
Sure.
Operator?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question at this time, please press star then 1 on your touch-tone telephone. If your question has been answered and you wish to remove yourself from the queue, please press the pound key.
So, Chris, while we're waiting for the calls to line up here, mobility. You need a web designer to convert or enable your website to be viewed on your mobile device. What is the trend? I'm noticing all the banks now. You can go in to look at do online banking from your mobile phone. Is that an absolute must now? Are people really doing a lot of business on the phone versus in their homes or at their laptops?
We are. Not only are we doing a lot of stuff mobilely, but one of the things I'll say is that most of us aren't consuming our email from our home. Most of us are sliding into our phones at times that were usually not used for that sort of a thing. If you go out to eat with somebody, if you excuse yourself to the restroom, it's almost guaranteed that you or the person are going to whip out their phone and check and see what kinds of messages and emails and texts have come in.
Right.
It's just part of what we do now. I've really gotten to the point where I thought I would love to sell advertisement on the floor of restaurants on the way to the restroom, because I think that's where our heads are faced. And, I think it would be an opportunity to do that. So with that in mind, so mobile applications versus mobile websites is the sort of question.
Right.
It's a little more costly to build mobile applications, and the only advantage a mobile app has than a website is that it can work while it's offline, even if it does pull some bits of itself from the online world. So that's kind of useful, except that making a mobile website is faster, a lot more flexible, works on more phones, etc. Mm-hmm. And so given those two choices, I think that's one thing to consider. But the other is, just realize how much time. The iPad sold millions and millions and millions of units right out of the gate. And Samsung has a competitor product called the Galaxy Tab. Motorola has its new one called the Playbook. RIM has whatever they called theirs. I forget, Zoom or something like that. It's a world where laptops aren't even useful anymore. People are switching to slouch tops, these little tablets that allow you to sit on your couch and check stuff out while you're watching TV. Between that and the 3-inch device, the iPhones of the world, we need to address those people where they are, not force them back to their laptop. That's the equivalent of this experience, Eric, is like the fact if you wanted to watch a great TV show, having to drive down to Rockefeller Center and sit in front of NBC to watch it.
Right.
You watch TV where you are. That's the point. And the people who are making TVs are trying to come up with ways to make it so you can watch it on your phone. You can watch it in the bathroom. You can watch it in the airplane. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't you be doing that with your business efforts to sell?
Well, I guess the bottom line is we need to utilize every means possible to meet people where they are, and in the most convenient and efficient way possible.
Absolutely.
Operator, do we have any questions?
I'm showing no questions at this time, sir.
Okay, great. So how do two-way relationships improve sales and business?
Well, I think for the first part, sometimes you might have written something that, as ad copy, that just doesn't connect with the people that you're trying to reach. You might possibly have written something that someone doesn't see themselves in. And in those moments where they don't see themselves, that's an opportunity for them to walk away. With a two-way conversation, there's always that chance of somebody saying, wait a minute, do you mean to say, and then you say, oh, no, that's not really what I meant. What I'm going for is this. And then right in there is the connection. The other thing is, in a two-way conversation, like you do, say, at a dinner party or what you do at your local Rotary Club or whatever, there's many more opportunities to there's many more opportunities to connect with the other person about what they're into long before you try to sell them. And I think that that's the biggest, most fundamental change, is that we have this great new opportunity to sell in a way that starts with conversations and works towards a sale, as opposed to starting with hitting them over the head with the please buy this.
Yeah, I think in sales we call that relationship selling. You know, you establish a relationship, and what a great way to do that, through Facebook, through blogging, through a newsletter that has real content about yourself or about the market you're in or about an event. You know, things that really get the potential client to understand who you are and to know you.
Exactly. And you're right. I mean, relationship sales is definitely what I'm mentioning. And I just think that using some of these social tools, using the blogs and the Facebooks and the Twitters and the YouTube and stuff, are a great way to do relationship sales even when you're not necessarily there,
Right.
and in a far more effective way. One thing to think about is if you answer someone's question in an email, you've answered it once, and you might have to answer it another 100 times. If you point them to a blog post that answers the question very effectively, then you might save yourself thousands of emails and or get, a couple hundred more people that are excited about the way you answered it.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. So we all have limited time and money to invest in all these things. I mean, some of the devices you just mentioned, from the Galaxy Tab to the iPhone, these are expensive propositions. Yet there's a whole generation out there that is that represents the buyers of today and tomorrow, who are using these devices, using the internet, never will probably ever walk into a bank and conduct a transaction, because everything's being done online. Where should real estate professionals invest their money and time now?
That's a good question. I think that real estate professionals have, with regards to the hardware, it's an arms race, so it's hard to get into it. I would say that if you're not using some kind of, I'd be surprised if real estate professionals don't at least have a BlackBerry at this point.
Right.
If you're just trying to answer on one of those crappy old-fashioned flip phones, then bless your heart, as they say in the South. The rest of the 20th century, not even the 21st century, is actually getting their email wherever they walk. And think about what that does to the impact of closings and stuff like that. It's just, if you're forever having to go back to your desktop to pick up the next piece of information in the puzzle, then you're just a heck of a lot slower than your competitor, and that's going to burn you. Where to spend your money? I would say that, don't spend a ton of it on your site design. Spend a little of it on your site design. Spend some of it on your mobile marketing. Spend it on possibly getting, if you are using newsletters to market, spend using some of it on maybe a reasonably decent email service provider. I use a company called Blue Sky Factory. There's another company called Aweber. There's Constant Contact, which has 400,000 plus members or something like crazy like that. There's a lot of different email service providers. Why use that as opposed to your Outlook, for example? Your deliverability is way far down and you just don't know it. A lot of the stuff you're sending probably isn't even getting to the other people. And there's ways to mechanize a lot of what you're doing so that you don't have to do it the old-fashioned way and blind carbon copy everybody. So spend your money on a reasonably good site. Spend your money on a decent email service provider. And then beyond that, take a look at some of the things I mentioned, like maybe making a mobile version for some of the most simplest parts of what people would need if they were trying to reach you remotely, and then spend some time instead of your money, getting into some of these social places like Facebook and Twitter, and start seeing if there's a way that you can leverage some of that to have people connect back into you and build some relationships.
Operator, do we have any questions?
We have a question from Lily Rodriguez.
Okay. Hi, Lily.
Can you hear me? I had the phone on mute. See, that's what happens when you're in the 50-somethings, which is basically where my question is headed. Since most of the statistics show that the average age of the real estate professional is in the mid-50s, and most of the incoming generation of buyers is more in the 30s, what suggestions can you give us as ways of bridging that gap so that communication by way of the social medias, you've given some great suggestions with regard to Facebook and content and that kind of thing, but could you give us a couple of other suggestions on how, where we should be looking so that then our content, as we apply these great suggestions that you've given us, will have better results?
Hi, Lily, and thanks for the question. So I mean, there's no real penalty to putting things in lots of places, although there is a search penalty if you just flat out copy everything to a lot of different places. So I think that, I mean, if I were going to start with 2 or 3 spots in helping people source things, I might look and see if there's a LinkedIn group already that exists that would be useful to you. And if not, I would consider making a LinkedIn group that would be sort of the most broadly inclusive version of a group for your sales target that you could possibly make. So, for example, I wouldn't necessarily put, Century 21 Boston as my LinkedIn group. I might put Boston Real Estate Finds or something like that, where you make it kind of exciting to be there, and you can have people come there that are from more than one organization, for example. LinkedIn might be one. Facebook for sure. And again, just because there's so many people of older demographic getting onto it, and older 31 to 60 being kind of the hot spot right now, that there's ways to kind of grow that business there. And then the third is just a simple blog. And blogs can be as inexpensive as $10 to set up, and they can be a couple thousand to have somebody do it in a really good way. More than $2,000 or $3,000, and you're probably paying a consultant to have a good vacation. But I would say that a place like a blog is really useful insofar as you can present all the information your way, and you don't have to worry that the social network place is going to pull it back off for some reason, like maybe you violated a term of service. Now, it sounds like a lot of places to maintain, but after a while it gets simple to understand how to link them together. For example, there's a way that you hook your blog into Facebook so that it would go right to your group page or whatever, and then you don't have to worry about moving the content from more than one spot. You can have your LinkedIn can actually also be tied to your blog so that you can put the information in one spot, and then people will view it where they are, which is kind of the beauty of it. The best thing you can hope for is that people will connect where they are, and you don't have to worry about having to find where they are. Hopefully that helps.
That was great. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Thank you, Lily, for calling. Operator, next question.
Sure, no questions at this time, sir.
Okay, let's tackle our last bullet here in the next few minutes here. The content community marketplace method for selling and making business value.
Well, yes. So I have a model that I've been working on for a while and started using in different ways over time, but this is sort of the gel of it all. And it's called Content, Community, and Marketplace. And the idea is that going to a place like YouTube is tons of content, but there's not necessarily a lot of community. If you read the comments on any particular YouTube video, they're usually by 14-year-old boys who don't like what you just posted, no matter what it was. Mm-hmm. Community is wonderful, but it has to gather around something, and so I tend to look to build communities that gather around good content. So I consider a place like a blog, I consider a place like a web TV show. It could be a series of teleconferences like Power is Now, and I think that the idea is that once you provide good content, what you've provided is sort of a campfire for people to gather around and have conversation. You capture that conversation by communicating back and forth with that community. Now, this is probably the hardest part of community these days, on the web anyway, is that it's scattered. People are everywhere, and you have to sort of figure out where they are, understand which of your clients are where, and address them where they are. And that takes some time, and I admit that. Marketplace is basically the idea that once you have good content in a place and once you have good community, you really do have to look for making sure that you make conversions to whatever your business goal is, whatever your sales goal is. So it could be as simple as selling something, or it could be as simple as using the content and community part as lead capture to your further sales funnel to make sure that you're not just sitting around making good blog posts and not selling houses. Or if you're shooting amazing YouTube videos of how great the neighborhood is, but that's not giving you more opportunities to show, then you're not really necessarily taking advantage of the marketplace. Mm-hmm. Two things to think about, though, is that one, not only is the community everywhere, but the marketplace is kind of everywhere. So you definitely need to have the options to buy or the options to opt in, the options to take that, whatever that next step is, spread out into lots of places so that where your person is where they choose to buy. Again, my point is, you don't, before the iTunes store, you used to have to run down to the local record shop to find the album that you were hoping for, and if they didn't have it, you went home empty.
Right.
Nowadays, I would say that the opportunity to buy is right on your phone, right at home and anywhere that you want to pick up that music, and that's kind of what you're shooting for your own business.
Wow. I tell you, Chris, the more I listen to you, the more I realize that why you are sitting at the table of major Fortune 100 and 500 companies providing advice and direction as to leveraging the internet, social media, and websites. I really appreciate you taking time to be with us today. I'm going to have the operator call out for the final question, and then we're going to wrap up the call. Operator.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question at this time, please press star then 1 on your touchtone telephone.
So, Chris, with no further questions, obviously you have stunned us all with your information. And this call is being recorded and will be available for replay on Facebook.com/The Power Is Now. Again, I really appreciate you taking time, sitting down there in Manhattan, and handling this call. Have a safe trip to, I think you're going to Boston, right?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right, and we look forward to perhaps having you back again to talk more about social media as the real estate profession continues to move up the learning curve and understand the different ways that we can expand our audience and sell more homes and even as loan consultants do more loans. So, again, thank you for being with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned before, this call is being recorded, and you can go to Facebook.com/The Power Is Now to listen to the recording. It will be on the Facebook by tomorrow, so look out for that. Please link up with me at LinkedIn and also Facebook and Twitter, and I'm trying to follow a lot of Chris's advice and really be on the internet and also engaged in all the various social media sites. In fact, I will be speaking on this tomorrow night in Anaheim. Active Rain is having an event there. Please go to the website, activerain.com, and you can check out all the details about it. But I, along with about 6 other people, will be speaking at that event, and I'm looking forward to it, and I hope I get an opportunity to meet some or all of you at the Active Rain event. Also, I mentioned earlier that Henish Puliko, who is the Director of Operations from Infinite Asset Management, will be on The Power Is Now. It's going to be March 3rd. That's the first Thursday in March. And he's going to be talking about how to get listings from Infinite Asset Management. And we hope to have, in the second half of 2011, a series of calls with CEOs and directors of asset management companies throughout California and the United States to talk about the opportunity to work with short sales and assets for these companies. Next week, Desiree Patno is going to be talking about women in business. 2011 is the year of the women in business, and there are tremendous opportunities for real estate professionals, women who are owners of their own companies and are agents, and she's going to be talking about financial reform and the offices of women and minorities. These are new offices in the government, new contracting programs for women-owned real estate companies, certification to better market yourself and your business, minority certification. So if you are a female and you're engaged in real estate, please let all of your sisters know that Desiree is going to be on the phone, and she is an expert, bona fide expert. She is a president of the National Association Women Real Estate Brokers, and she is definitely in the know, and I'm looking forward to her teleconference next Thursday, same time, same telephone number. Well, remember, the power is now. We are at our best, and we maximize our success when we act now. Thank you for joining the call. See you next week on The Power Is Now. Have an awesome day today. Have a great day.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your participation in today's conference. This concludes the program. You may now disconnect. Everyone, have a wonderful day.